South African Deputy President to visit Juba for peace talks, October 7, 2025, Pretoria. South African Deputy President Paul Machar will travel to Juba from October 8 to 9 for a working visit aimed at reinforcing South Sudan's fragile peace process, his office announced on Tuesday. Machar, acting as South Africa's presidential special envoy, will focus on supporting the implementation of the 2018 revitalized peace agreement, which is intended to steer South Sudan toward democratic transition and eventual elections. The visit comes amid renewed strains in the peace process, complicated by the ongoing trial of former First Vice President Dr. Riek Machar, who was arrested in March and is accused of involvement in the Nasir violence earlier this year. Machar's suspension from his post has raised concerns about the political inclusivity of the transitional process. According to a statement from Machar's office, the mission seeks to consolidate political efforts and contribute to the peace process, ensuring a peaceful and democratic end to the transitional period. While in Juba, Machar is expected to hold consultations with President Salva Kiir Mayardit and other key signatories to the peace agreement. His delegation will review progress on critical outstanding tasks, including the drafting of a permanent constitution, the unification of rival forces, and preparations for the country's first national elections, currently slated for December 2026. Machar will be accompanied by senior South African government officials as part of Pretoria's ongoing commitment to supporting regional stability and peace in South Sudan. Peace body warns South Sudan agreement near collapse amid arrests, violence. South Sudan's fragile 2018 peace agreement is at serious risk of collapse due to deepening political divisions, renewed violence, and a loss of trust among leaders, the country's top peace monitoring body warned on Tuesday. The reconstituted Joint Monitoring and Evaluation Commission, RJMEC, sounded the alarm during an emergency meeting in Juba, its first since February, describing the situation as critical. RJMEC chairperson Ambassador Major General, Red. George Agri Owino said that a succession of political and security crises threatens to unravel hard-won gains. If the current challenges are not urgently addressed, there is a high risk of reversal of all the gains already made, Owino told stakeholders. This could lead to a collapse of the agreement altogether. He cited the March 7 incident in Nasir County, Upper Nile State, in which a senior South Sudan People's Defense Forces general was killed, as a key flashpoint. The subsequent arrests of First Vice President Dr. Riek Machar and other senior SPLMIO officials, Owino said, have crippled vital peace institutions. According to RJMEC's latest audit, the ceasefire monitoring team in Malakal is largely dysfunctional. While slow progress in unifying rival forces, unilateral political actions, and intra-party disputes have eroded trust and undermined political will. Owino warned that the ongoing paralysis has weakened the very power-sharing arrangement the peace deal was meant to sustain. Despite the grim assessment, Cabinet Affairs Minister Martinelli Alamuro offered a more positive outlook on the government's preparations for the December 2026 elections, saying pre-election activities are 64% complete. We have made progress unlike before, Lamuro said. Once funding is provided, institutions can work around the clock to complete the remaining activities. He added that Phase 1 of training unified army forces has been completed, with deployment underway, although Phase 2, which includes police and prison forces, remains stalled. The meeting also drew input from international partners. Chinese Ambassador Ma Qing reiterated Beijing's support for South Sudan's sovereignty and peace efforts, urging all parties to cease hostilities and resolve differences through dialogue. In closing, Owino urged political leaders and signatories to recommit to dialogue, release detainees, and revive the peace process before it unravels. We must look for solutions, not engage in blame games, he said. The responsibility to safeguard peace lies with the government, the parties, and all peace partners. Time is running out. Machar treason trial resumes amid mounting political tension in Juba, October 8, 2025, Juba. The special court trial of suspended First Vice President Dr. Riek Machar, 10 and 7 senior officials of the Sudan People's Liberation Movement in opposition, SPLMIO, resumed today in Juba, marking a critical phase in a case that has deepened political divisions and raised fears of renewed instability in South Sudan. The proceedings, held at Freedom Hall under heavy security, were attended by a small group of court officials, lawyers, and accredited journalists. The trial had been adjourned last week after the prosecution introduced several documentary exhibits, including an autopsy report and other materials purportedly linking the accused to alleged acts of subversion. Machar and his co-accused, among them Espiondo Secretary General Regina Joseph Kide, Deputy Minister of Interior Mabior Garang de Mabior, and 3 senior military officers, face charges of treason, subversion, and incitement of violence. The charges stem from what the government describes as a coordinated attempt to undermine state authority and destabilize the transitional administration. However, defense lawyers have continued to challenge the legitimacy of the proceedings, arguing that the trial violates the 2018 revitalized peace agreement, which grants Machar and other opposition leaders immunity as part of the power-sharing arrangement. Lead defense counsel advocate Philip Onyang Gong reiterated that position before the court, describing the case as a politically motivated process designed to eliminate Machar from the political landscape ahead of elections. "We are dealing with a clear constitutional violation," Gong said. The peace agreement protects Dr. Machar from any criminal prosecution while serving as first vice president. This court should not be used to settle political scores. Prosecutors, led by Dr. Sabri Wani Ladu, countered that the case is based on credible evidence gathered over several months, including communications allegedly showing coordination between SPLMIO operatives and armed groups responsible for recent unrest in parts of Unity and Upper Nile states. "This is not a political case," Wani told the court. "It is about accountability for actions that threaten national security and civilian lives." Outside the courtroom, Juba remained tense, with a visible military presence near major intersections leading to Freedom Hall. The roadblocks, which have disrupted traffic and pedestrian movement, have drawn public frustration. "This trial has turned Juba into a city under siege," said a local resident in Konio Market. "People fear what might happen next." Regional observers have expressed concern that the trial could derail the fragile peace process. The reconstituted Joint Monitoring and Evaluation Commission, RJMEC, warned on Tuesday that mistrust between the main signatories to the peace deal has reached critical levels, threatening to undo years of progress. As the trial resumes, all eyes are on how the court will navigate the delicate intersection of law, politics, and peace. The next hearings are expected to include witness testimonies from both the prosecution and the defense, setting the stage for one of the most consequential legal battles in South Sudan's post-war history. South African Deputy President Machar in Juba to revive stalled peace deal. Juba, October 8, 2025. South African Deputy President Paul Machar arrived in Juba on Wednesday morning for a 2-day visit aimed at reinvigorating the implementation of South Sudan's fragile 2018 peace agreement. The 2018 revitalized agreement on the resolution of the conflict in South Sudan, RERCS, has faced persistent setbacks, compounded by the legal and political uncertainty surrounding First Vice President Riek Machar. Machar, arrested in March and later suspended from his position, is currently on trial before a special court in Juba over his alleged involvement in violence in Nasir County earlier this year. Serving as a special envoy of the South African government, Machar is scheduled to meet President Salva Kiir Mayardit and other signatories to the peace accord to assess progress and push for renewed political dialogue. "We have returned to this great city of Juba to once again consult with the relevant parties and to track progress achieved in implementing the provisions and commitments expressed in the agreement," Machar said upon arrival. He highlighted the drafting of a new constitution, the finalization of transitional security arrangements, and preparations for elections, currently slated for December 2026, as key priorities of his mission. Signed in September 2018, the peace deal ended a 5-year civil war that claimed hundreds of thousands of lives. However, crucial provisions, including the unification of rival military forces and the creation of a national army, remain incomplete, raising fears of renewed instability. Machar was received at Juba International Airport by Foreign Affairs Minister Monday Samaya Kumba and senior diplomats from both countries. South Africa remains a key regional mediator and a member of the African Union's support mechanism for South Sudan's peace process. UK and Norway warn South Sudan peace deal has reversed amid renewed conflict. Juba, the United Kingdom and Norway have warned that the limited progress achieved under South Sudan's 2018 peace agreement has been reversed, citing a deepening political crisis, the collapse of the ceasefire, and the detention of opposition leaders. The warning came in a joint statement delivered Tuesday by British Ambassador David Ashley during an extraordinary meeting of the reconstituted Joint Monitoring and Evaluation Commission, RJMEC, the body overseeing the implementation of the peace deal. It is with deep regret that now, 7 months further on, even the limited progress that had been made has been reversed, Ashley said. Instead, we are witnessing repeated and consistent breaches of the peace agreement. Alongside Norwegian Ambassador Roar Hogsdal, Ashley said the legitimacy of South Sudan's transitional government is derived from the 2018 peace deal, warning that unilateral dismissals or detentions of political opponents undermine the agreement and risk renewed war. The statement referred specifically to suspended First Vice President Riek Machar, leader of the main opposition SPLM-IO, whose position is enshrined in the peace accord. Machar was detained in March, suspended from his role, and now faces trial in a special court in Juba over alleged involvement in violence in Nasir County earlier this year. He and his party are a party to the agreement and cannot be excluded if peace is to be achieved, Ashley emphasized, calling for renewed dialogue at the presidency level that includes Machar. The diplomats also declared that the permanent nationwide ceasefire established under the peace agreement has effectively collapsed, noting that forces loyal to President Salva Kiir's SPLM-IG and Machar's SPLM-IO are engaged in regular armed clashes in at least 4 states and are publicly referring to each other as enemies. Ashley said the resurgent conflict has already cost thousands of lives and displaced hundreds of thousands of people, urging both sides to halt hostilities immediately to prevent a return to full-scale civil war. The ambassadors also linked continued international support to improvements in economic governance, warning that future backing for key financial oversight mechanisms would depend on transparent and effective use of South Sudan's own resources to meet citizens' needs. Enough is enough, Ashley concluded. No one wants more war, and no one wants yet another extension of the transition. To avoid both will require urgent dialogue, compromise, and responsible leadership. Session 8. The special court exposes its true colors by shooting themselves on feet. It doesn't surprise me that the so-called special court in Juba is finally revealing its true nature. A kangaroo court violating even its own earlier promises of fairness and transparency. From the very first day of this politically motivated trial, the court deceived the public by proudly announcing that proceedings would be open to the public and media, and even broadcast live to ensure transparency. By Session 5, the court abruptly reversed its stance, barring media outlets from live coverage, perhaps in an effort to conceal its weak case and the embarrassments that had already played out before the public eye. Now, by Session 8, the special court has completely exposed itself by banning all independent media from attending the hearings. Only the state-run SSBC and a few government-sponsored Facebook pages, operating under dubious names, are allowed in. Even SSBC itself has reportedly been denied permission to broadcast live. I knew it would come to this shameful episode. The regime's aim was never justice. It was a public parade of humiliation. They wanted to display First Vice President Dr. Riek Machar and his 7 co-accused before cameras, as though they were captured combatants. Yet the world knows the truth. President Salva Kiir's forces stormed Dr. Machar's residence at night, arresting him without cause, even as he pursued peace and stood unprotected. Now, faced with fabricated evidence and a collapsing prosecution, the judges and prosecutors are shutting out independent scrutiny to manipulate the narrative. They do not want the public to see the courageous faces of these men, defiant, unbroken, and proud. To make matters worse, reports indicate that security agents are harassing citizens attempting to attend the hearings, confiscating phones, and even forcing people to remove their watches at the entrance to Freedom Hall. This is not justice. It is a performance, but history teaches us one thing. Truth cannot be silenced forever. However long it takes, the people will overcome this shameful chapter. Machar treason trial adjourned again to October 13th. The special court trial of suspended First Vice President Dr. Riek Machar and 8 senior members of the Sudan People's Liberation Movement in opposition, SPLMIO, has been adjourned once again, with the next hearing now scheduled for October 13th, 2025. The adjournment marks yet another delay in the politically charged case that has gripped the nation and drawn growing concern from regional and international observers. Court officials provided no immediate reason for the latest postponement. However, legal analysts and observers present at Freedom Hall in Juba, where the proceedings are being held, cited logistical issues and procedural disputes as possible causes. A controversial and closely watched trial, Dr. Machar, the leader of the SPLMIO and a key signatory to the 2018 Revitalized Peace Agreement, RARCTS, was arrested in March 2025 and later suspended from his position as first vice president. He and his co-accused are charged with treason, incitement, and responsibility for violence that erupted in Nasir County, Upper Nile State, earlier this year. The defendants have rejected the charges, describing them as politically motivated and intended to eliminate the opposition from South Sudan's transitional government. The trial, now in its 8th session, has faced mounting criticism over its transparency and conduct. Early in the proceedings, the court announced that the hearings would be open to the public and broadcast live to promote accountability. However, by the 5th session, media coverage was restricted, and by session 8, only the state-run South Sudan Broadcasting Corporation, SSBC, and select government-affiliated independent journalists were barred entirely from attending the hearings. Media outlets were permitted entry, though even SSBC has been barred from live broadcasting, rising criticism from diplomats and peace monitors. The trial's handling has drawn strong rebukes from international partners. On Tuesday, the United Kingdom and Norway jointly warned that South Sudan's peace process is in serious jeopardy, citing political arrests, the collapse of the ceasefire, and erosion of trust among signatories to the 2018 peace deal. British Ambassador David Ashley said the limited progress achieved under the agreement has been reversed, while Norwegian Ambassador Roar Hogstall stressed that the exclusion of Machar and the SPLMIO from the political process undermines the peace agreement itself.
To add a little bit of interventions to what my colleague has already mentioned, especially the way forward for us, the SPLM-IO, it is the dialogue, the inclusive dialogue for all the partners, being spearheaded by the two principles. His Excellency Mr. President Salva Kiir Mayardit and His Excellency First Vice President Dr. Riek Machar and all the stakeholders to lead us through the dialogue and get us out of this stagnation. Therefore, we call for the unconditional release for SPLA-IO political leaders in detention to fast-track the implementation that we continue to see that is severely violated almost every other day. There is a huge concern, Mr. Chair, with the current court proceedings that goes contrarily to the letter and the spirit of the R-Access. If we are really still implementing the peace agreement 2018 that we are talking about, which give us, by the way, let me remind all of us, it gives us the legitimacy to be sitting here today. It gives us the legitimacy to call ourselves that we have got a government of national unity. If we are serious about the implementation of this peace agreement, why can we not be serious on all the provisions? It seems that we are being selective of what to implement based on who is saying it and how we are saying it. As my colleague mentioned here, representing the FDs, since the peace agreement has given us a platform to be able to address legal matters. Establishment and an implementation of hybrid court is exactly very crucial to make sure that all these violations by all the parties are addressed through that court. We should not be selective, as I mentioned, on which provision in the agreement to execute and which one is not. Again, I call on all the partners to be inclusive, in regard to how we are handling the peace agreement and in regard to how we are talking to one another. We still have an opportunity, my colleagues and everybody, Excellencies, to be able to work together to end this crisis that we are in. Our people have suffered enough. The mothers, the children, the vulnerable population have suffered enough. And we have an opportunity as leaders of this country to end that. Thank you, and I submit.